Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Be There in 5 podcast. I'm Kate Kennedy, your host. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving weekend. So this episode is what we call a Katelilah. I just have memories of like headlight halos, driving through the burbs at night, maybe raindrops on the windows of my Honda Civic, and Delilah, adult contemporary radio, spoken word crooner, giving sage wisdom, playing 80s and 90s power ballads, healing people with the gift of song, with the gift of unqualified advice. And so, yeah, we call this Katelilah, even though it's really doesn't roll off the tongue. You know, am I always quick with these questions? God, no. I believe I got through 3 in this 90-minute program. So don't worry if you call in and continue to call in 775-HEY-BETH. Courtney keeps a pool of ones I haven't answered, and we'll just pick them at random. So just because yours that you called in recently wasn't used doesn't mean it won't be used. But yeah, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving weekend. I'm kind of sitting not in my usual setup because I'm sitting on the floor. I moved my desk setup because I'm hosting my in-laws. There are 10 people at my house, staying at my house, which is so much fun. It's like a mess with, forts and blankets and toys strewn about, and it just like makes me happy because that's like what basement dreams are made of. That's why I always wanted a basement. And it's really fun to have everyone come here to the city. And honestly, it feels easier to host 10 people in my home than it does to travel 5 hours by car with one child. I don't see how you parents do it. You're my heroes. I'm already getting anxious for flying with Teddy for Christmas, but, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anyway, guys, so yeah, today's a fun episode. It's like a mixture of pop culture, some forgotten millennial icon lore, along with something that happened to be witchy themed, which is a coincidence because we left Brat Summer and we're now in Wicked Winter. And I'm really excited for this era. I really am. Club anthems were hard enough given I don't really go out anymore. But the way I'm just doing dishes and listening to No One Mourns the Wicked, I never thought I'd be so interested in operatic music. So the last episode with Caroline, when I was talking about being a fan of the Wicked soundtrack, I probably should have clarified that when I'm a fan of a soundtrack, I probably pick 4 to 6 or 7 songs that I listen to on a loop, and then I cut out the rest. So when I say I didn't really know or remember the details of Wicked's plot, I didn't really, because I had never seen it in full. And Wicked actually has a lot of, it's like a dialogue heavy Broadway play, unlike Hamilton, which is like almost all music. And I never listened to the song Something Bad, sung by the goat, although very cute goat, played by Peter Dinklage. So when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, this is like about animals. I forgot. I think I really only listened to, even though Popular wasn't my favorite when I was younger, I listened to Popular a lot. Obviously Defying Gravity, For Good, No Good Deed. And you know what's crazy is I wasn't that into What Is This Feeling with Chenoweth and Menzel. But when I say I'm listening to Loathing every day, all day, that is not an exaggeration. When I drive, when I walk around, when I do dishes, I love being deep in a soundtrack. It's like my favorite thing ever. I love being in a phase where I obsess over something pop culturally. It's just like cozy and not having to look for content and just having something in the background that I can continuously enjoy. And you guys, the movie, I've already seen it twice alone. If you can see it in 4DX, it's sensory overload, maybe not for little kids. But when I tell you the chair hurls you off a building, you get wet that you can turn the water off. When the monkeys are punching through the windows, they're punching into your back. It was so intense. I kind of short-circuited and cry laughed the whole time because I was there were so many emotions and I was so excited to be seeing it and I was loving it so much. And the second time I really took it in because I wanted to see it after learning all the fun facts, because admittedly, since I hadn't revisited songs like No One Warns the Wicked, the first time I saw it, I wasn't really appreciating Ari's acting in terms of being Glinda the Good, but also having micro movements in her face suggesting that there's a part of her that remembers that Elphaba was once her friend. Also, I didn't know Elphaba was named Elphaba because Wizard of Oz was written by L. Frank Baum, and it sounds like the initials L, F, F, Ba. Ba. Isn't that interesting? But anyways, so I went back to the songs that scenes that I went back twice. That's the second time to watch alone and really take in where No One Mourns the Wicked, the opening that is just out fucking standing. I it's like from that moment on, I knew we were in good hands with Ari. The way she delivered, you guys, I know she took it seriously. I know this was her dream. It made me respect her all the more as an artist, as if I already didn't. We all know she has like the whistle Mariah Carey chops, but like, I guess it makes sense because she's so good at impressions. But if you listen to like Popular, it's almost indistinguishable from the Chenoweth version. It's kind of crazy. But I actually like Popular more now because seeing the actual scene in the suite at Shiz, I'm like, oh, this is, I don't know. It added a layer, knowing what was going on, that made me really love it. That the bootlegs from the stage show just didn't provide me. But the second time I really wanted to focus on No One Mourns the Wicked. The scene at Ozdust. Oh my God, you guys. Apparently that dance was improvised and Cynthia's tears were genuine because she said she was like channeling all the time. She, felt othered or like she didn't belong. And like, it was so beautiful. At first I was like, what is this dance? But now I understand like what the point of that scene was. She had like never been to a party. She was just kind of feeling it and moving her body. And while I felt like Galinda was like a little too mean girl and not redemptive until that point. She almost flipped too harsh of a switch. Like I still don't think she's a good person, but maybe that's kind of the point, is that there's wickedness to face, like faking that you're a good person, but doing bad things. And then there's like the optics of what's wicked, but in the name of like resistance or doing the right thing, it's not actually. And that's the whole point of the play is, are people born wicked or is wickedness thrust upon them? But so yeah, I wanted to revisit Ozdust. I wanted to revisit Dancing Through Life because I was obsessed. I said on the episode with Caroline, I heard from people that had seen the previews that was like the standout scene, everyone said. So I was paying close attention the first time, but having the context now of like, that scene alone, I guess, took weeks. The rotating library thing in the back is all like parkour artists. Jonathan Bailey was like sliding on the books and opening the covers himself. What a talent. He is so good looking. He is so dreamy. He is a perfect Fiyero. Like, I remember hearing Joe and Nick Jonas tried out and I was like, woof. But whew, he is obsessed. The talent. It's unbelievable. And I love, I loved the whole thing. And I went back to revisit... Was it? Oh, well, yeah, Popular. Ozdust, Dancing Through... I guess it was mostly Ozdust, Dancing Through Life, and No One Mourns the Wicked. But Popular, like, is so good, and it's so earwormy and brain-scratchy that, like, on TikTok, it's trending the, don't make me laugh, when she goes, right! It's so satisfying. And Ari, we're friends now. She posted a video on TikTok being like, yeah, that was a take that like where I scared myself, and they ended up choosing it. So when she did the really emphatic guttural right. The end is just so fucking powerful, you guys. Like I sobbed both times. It's just like, well, I don't know if I feel like Defying Gravity needed to be drug out to a 20-minute scene and 9 minutes for the song. Because actually my only criticism is that final part. The long gap before it's me, such a songbird. But yeah, it's just so powerful, and I did feel very weepy that when she fell off the building, even though I was a little startled because my 4DX chair also threw me off the building. The inner child part was just like so incredibly moving. And yeah, it was just such a powerful ending. I'm so interested to see if Act 2 just besides For Good and No Good Deed, so never mind. I was going to say it lacked bangers, but those are bangers. I'm just like such a cliche Defying Gravity fan. But listen, I was not anticipating loving No One Mourns the Wicked, so maybe I'll surprise myself. But yeah, I didn't know a lot about the story, and I effing loved it. They were so brilliant. I loved how vulnerably Cynthia played Elphaba and how she just like found her power and conviction at the end. And like, I forgot so much about the Wizard of Oz. I was like, oh yeah, the wizard's kind of a con artist. Like I forgot that. Also, tap 30 seconds ahead like 4 times if you don't want to know what happens in Wicked Act 2, though I feel like the play's old enough where it's chill. Also, why didn't I remember this? Like, because I don't think I listened to enough of the second act. I'm such a Fairweather fan. I must be annoying you musical theater buffs as much as it annoys me when people only like Taylor Swift's radio singles. I'm like, what a tragedy. There's so many better songs. And I'm like, oh, Dancing Through Life and Nothing Matters If Nothing Matters, like how his whole thing being like he doesn't really have thoughts, and then Ari being like something's wrong with Fiyero, he's been thinking, and then when Fiyero later is talking to Elphaba, he goes, I've been thinking. She goes, I heard, which is from the play too, that him not thinking or having thoughts is kind of interesting considering he becomes the Scarecrow, If I Only Had a Brain. And then Bach becomes the Tin Man, whose heart is taken by Elphaba after I believe he leaves Nessa Rose. And the Cowardly Lion is the lion cub that there was like an Easter egg for Miss Gulch, her mean neighbor who has the same face as the Wicked Witch of the West in the original Wizard of Oz. When the, not Miss Gulch, was it Miss Gulch with Toto in the basket? Maybe. But the lion cub is in the basket, and that lion cub her and Fiyero rescue after the poppy scene when everyone falls asleep becomes a Cowardly Lion. I loved the tie-ins. And I didn't realize that Nessa Rose is the Wicked Witch of the East, and that's who Dorothy's house falls on. And that's also why Elphaba's like pretty mad. And it's like, wow, we all have our motivations, no matter how evil or wicked you think somebody is. I mean, yeah, if a house fell on Kelly, if a house fell on Kelly, I would haunt your ass for eternity. I mean, I'll get you, my pretty. I wouldn't be that nice. I'd call you much worse things. But I watched the original Wizard of Oz, and that was enlightening too. Like, I hadn't seen that movie. I hadn't watched the 1939 version since I was probably like a kid. It's not something I casually put on often, but the tiny amount of water the Wicked Witch melts with is genuinely shocking. She clearly doesn't have much of a skincare routine. I guess canonically in the book she bathes in oil because she can't get wet. But it didn't even occur to me during Wicked when it rains and Madame Morrible, Michelle Yeoh, puts an umbrella over her in Elphaba. I'm like, oh yeah, she can't get wet. I didn't think about that till the second time. What are more fun facts? Don't you love that we've just totally forgotten about Ari and SpongeBob? I almost wonder if like the news of that was like leaked early so we'd get over it before Wicked came out. I loved how For Good played steadily throughout the film, like in No One Warns the Wicked and Defying Gravity, and I believe there was like some of the score in Dancing Through Life. And Glinda's mother is played by Alice Fern, one of my favorite version of The Wizard and I in the Broadway production. The shoes that the dad, and who Elphaba's father is. Yeah, part 2 is going to be great. Also, when you listen to the soundtrack, that becomes very clear whose voice it is when the mom's having an affair and No One Warns the Wicked. Oh, Nessa Rose's jeweled shoes, the governor dad gives her on her first day at Shiz. Bejeweled shoes or jeweled shoes or I forget. But they're not called ruby slippers or even slippers because I guess that's like intellectual property of... Because this is a Universal movie, and I think that's technically IP of like Warner Brothers or something. So they can't call them ruby slippers, and they can't be ruby. So Nessa Rose is like jeweled slippers, and those are ultimately like I think what she's wearing when the house falls on her. But I thought it was interesting they couldn't really do ruby slippers in the movie. So the way that they did an Easter egg was during Popular. Ari had some when she was featuring, and she tapped them 3 times as like a nod to Wizard of Oz, which I thought was really cute. I can't believe they actually planted 9 million of those tulips. That's actually insane. Like the fact that they built out that set and they actually had all of those tulips is like very, very cool. And I should have known John M. Chu would deliver because he directed America's Plane movie, Crazy Rich Asians, one of my favorite rom-coms. And a big reason of that is it's like aspiration and it's visuals. He does aspiration and like Wonderful Worlds amazingly. Think of the wedding scene. Wise Man said only fools rush in when the water comes and they have the fireflies. It's like one of my favorite wedding scenes in like all of rom-com history. I did like how the Wicked font was the same as the Wizard of Oz in the beginning. I thought that was really special. Anyways, you guys, I loved it. I'm going to go again. I'm listening to the soundtrack. I'm obsessed. I hope you are too. Maybe we'll do a Patreon talking about it more. I don't know. Do I have more to say? I don't remember. But regardless, we'll get to the episode after these brief messages. Love you. Have the best weekend and enjoy the episode.
Last week, Caroline and I were supposed to do a gift guide, and we never did. But lucky for you, today's advertiser has been featured in more than 130 gift guides, selected 3 times as one of Oprah's favorite things, and recommended by Fast Company, Wall Street Journal, Forbes. Just to name a few small-name publications, the truly best gift for parents, grandparents, in-laws, people near and far, Aura frames. You guys, the Aura frame is a beautifully designed Wi-Fi picture frames that connect people around the world using a photo sharing experience that's enabled by Aura's cloud servers. If any of you have, parents, grandparents, in-laws, anybody in your life who's maybe not the most tech savvy, this is literally the best gift you could give them. It's a tech adjacent gift, but it solves for a problem that I think many people have crossing this technological barrier, which is the sharing of photos and the updating of photos. Now that we're not printing off photos and making albums as much, you don't want them to get lost in the cloud. You want to still be able to share moments. And Aura frames are the best because they help you interact with your friends and family more. It's super easy to get started. You can upload photos right from your phone in just a click. You can add unlimited photos and videos to the frame and invite as many people as you want to the frame. And there's absolutely no hidden fees or subscriptions, which we love. And you have complete control over who has access to your frame. And the Aura app lets you share photos more securely than with email, which many other digital frames require. And my parents have one of these. And it's so cool because all of us, like what we're doing with our lives, we get on the app and we just upload pictures to their Aura frame and it's like on their mantle and they get to see like in real time as we update it, and it cycles through like our favorite family photos and moments, or like I'll send pictures of Tugboat, which I know they love, and they look like real prints. Our frames have meticulously calibrated high-res displays, and you can react with cute emojis to show you love a photo or say congratulations. And you can share photos and videos from any device and they'll instantly appear on the frame wherever it is in the world without a memory card. It also auto-detects faces and other key details to make sure nothing gets left out with their smart photo cropping. And then they display photos in true color and automatically adjust for light level of the room. This is a great gift for anybody, but there has never been a more perfect gift for grandparents, for aunts, for people that are constantly asking for photos of your kids, like literally look no further than the Aura frame. It's a perfect gift for the holidays or really any occasion, because you can also save on the wrapping paper because every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. I was also named the #1 digital picture frame by Wirecutter Strategist and Wired, if you don't want to take my word for it. But regardless, for a limited time, visit auraframes.com and get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code BeThereIn5 at checkout. That's AURAFrames.com, promo code BeThereIn5. This exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal is their best of the year, so don't miss out. Terms and conditions apply. I feel like I should just tell you from the jump that I have a 45% off discount code with this company. So get your gifts in so they get here by the holidays, because there is nothing better for a cozy season than Cozy Earth products. I'm hosting Thanksgiving this week, and last week I shopped till I dropped with my own coupon code. I need to be the best ambassador to Cozy Earth I can be, so all of my beds must have bamboo sheet sets. And I even sprung for the comforters and knit blankets this time because Cozy Earth was kind enough to gift me a cuddle blanket, and I haven't woken up since. It's like a super substantial, like faux fur throw that's double-sided, and I think it weighs like 20 pounds. It's heaven on earth. I got the oversized one. But they're best known for their bamboo sheet sets. I mean, a silent night starts right with the right sheets. Cozy Earth's bamboo sheet set is the ultimate gift this holiday season, elevating everyday luxury into something everyone will use and absolutely adore. And I personally am a big fan of gifting the women's stretch knit long sleeve bamboo pajama set because I have trouble with pajama pants, Christmas pajamas, things you buy kind of inexpensively for the whole family. They're always high waters on me. These pajamas come in longs. They're also really soft. They're also really stretchy. I wore them 9 months pregnant. I still wear them now. Brought them to the hospital with me. But really, all of their products are heavenly because they're made of viscose from bamboo and they have temperature regulation. And they're so breathable. Their sheets, their pajamas, everything. So you'll sleep several degrees cooler. They don't pill. They have a commitment to quality. Cozy Earth bedding and bath products have a 10-year warranty. That's how much they believe in them. Cozy Earth understands the significance of finding comfort and tranquility in the midst of your hectic life, and believes your 5 to 9 should consist of relaxation and rejuvenation, unwinding. What they want to do is help you create a sense of sanctuary when you walk in your home, a refuge from the demands of the outside world. And with Cozy Earth, you can transform your space into an elevated haven where serenity and renewal intertwine effortlessly. I just got excited. So the pajamas, outstanding. The jogger set, 5 stars. One of the only things I wear on planes. Bamboo sheets, they're world famous for them. Or a bedding bundle. Or their waffle towels are really good. And now it looks like I'm just naming stuff off their website, but I'm not even looking at their website. This is just from memory. They have endless amazing products that are so soft, so breathable, and have products that are so durable. They have a great warranty, like I said. But most importantly, I want you to sleep on the sheets, but not on this deal. This weekend only, I can offer you an exclusive 45% off discount code. This code is the best discount you'll find for Cozy Earth year-round. Visit cozyearth.com/BeThereIn5 and code BeThereIn5 to get the best products for your loved ones this holiday season. Don't miss out. Wrap the ones you love in luxury with Cozy Earth. Let's get into voicemails. I'm excited. I'll listen to these at random. If I'm ever answering and you're like, you didn't really answer that person's question, it's because I am like listening for the first time in real time, so I can kind of react and just see where it goes. But today I will be taking notes because sometimes I really miss the mark.
Kate, long-time listener, first-time caller. I am desperate to know your thoughts on the early seasons, at least, the heyday of American Idol. That was such a cornerstone of pop culture. I am particularly interested in your season 7 David versus David season finale thoughts and how that season went. But yeah, just really curious on where you stand on those early seasons of American Idol, because that is just such a pop culture juggernaut. Probably the first time I heard the word juggernaut was related to American Idol, and I am just beyond curious what your thoughts are and would love to hear it. Have a great one. Take care.
Thank you for calling. Thank you for asking. I mean, yeah, I feel like American Idol, like Las Culturistas, that's like one of the culture that made the culture for me. Like, it is the culture. Early 2000s American Idol, like before I was 18, the only way I could really like exhibit my patriotism and support of a democratic process was to rock the vote. And by that, I mean encourage people on AOL and Messenger to vote for my favorite American Idol candidates because it felt that serious and dire. And I just would basically pick the hottest girl with the okayest voice in the top 10, top 7. You're Kimberly Caldwell's. And near demand on my way message that people vote. I think once I got a little older, it was more like, school, b-ball, Anne's house, American Idol, hit the cell. So it was still like appointment TV and that it was like one of the appointments on my away message. Also, can I just shout out my friend Anne from high school? I had so much fun with her. And not only would we watch American Idol together every week, I think like probably the first 3 or 4 seasons because I was in high school like through Carrie Underwood, I think. It was season 4 maybe. And not only would we watch American Idol, rock the vote, but she would also then like single-handedly teach me like whatever science class we were in, like chemistry, biology. Like I'm not a woman in STEM. I've always struggled with science. And it was like really hard for me to learn those subjects in a classroom setting. And we would watch American Idol and she would take the time and teach me. And once I sat down and learned it like one-on-one, it made sense to me. And this is a lead into an ad for homeschooling. I'm just kidding. But like, I think that I'm a person that with tougher subjects, I like needed a tutor. And she just served as mine and was a friend. And I just have so many fond memories of going to her house and watching Idol. Not the point. Okay, have we talked about this before? If anybody wants to do this, all I want in life is like a master doc of the transcript of every podcast I've ever done and to like in Control F. Because when people ask questions like this, I'm like, this makes too much sense. Of course I have opinions. I do know I talked about it in like the second episode ever. It's such a part of the culture for me. But so I'm sorry if we've been over this recently. I have honestly no idea. But yeah, the early seasons, my God. I think that, do we go in order? Like, what do you want? Well, first of all, for something uplifting, an angle to take on this, a reframe. America often votes against its best interest. And I've been looking for like crumbs of hope, like examples of how this is cyclical and can feel unprecedented and like the world's going to end. But there are cycles and things ebb and flow. And, America leans one way and it learns lessons. It leads the other. There's like equilibrium. I'm just trying to like feel better about our democracy, but I had to turn off my phone notifications because as I'm recording this, we're getting cabinet appointments. And you don't see cabinets this bad even in Zillow Gone Wild. At least Brown will buy that house. This is bad. This is terrifying. But we're not going to talk about that today. No. What I was going to say is something hopeful. America has voted against its own best interest before, and we will rebuild. Because I think that we can use, as an example, American Idols of years past. I think we have to remember that we have to learn lessons the hard way. At one point, we thought Jennifer Hudson was worthy of 7th place and let her go on Barry Manilow night. When they go high, you don't go Manilow. I don't know what that means. When else did we make bad choices? At one point, America thought that the core voting bloc of self-identified members of the Soul Patrol was the more sustainable fan base. And Taylor Hicks was the greater talent than the second place contestant, which was Catherine McPhee, whose 2-year-old son, I think, is like headlining a tour with his drumming skills. Have you guys seen those videos? It's wild. Her and David Foster's son. Do you know what's even crazier than the ick I got from Hicks back then? Actually, I don't remember. He's probably a nice guy. Okay, in my head, I have a decent memory. My memory of Taylor Hicks was his arc was like he was a middle-aged man who had been playing music, like trying to get gigs around the country, and like no one cared, no one listened. But he was charming. In his audition, he kind of played to his base. In naming your fandom, that's like a brilliant strategy to like really drum up enthusiasm, speak directly to them, and kind of make them evangelize, right? But I had no fucking clue that Taylor Hicks, when we talked about him being so old and playing music for so long and never getting a big break, I legitimately thought he was middle-aged, and he won American Idol when he was 29. Taylor Hicks of the Soul Patrol was 29. Is that not crazy? So, yeah, there's a huge judgment lapse on America's behalf. Season 1 had everything. Kelly Clarkson's unforgettable, super chunky highlights, thick as I've ever seen them, thin margins between her and Justin Guarini. Who's it going to be? We had Ryan Seacrest in all his frosted tipped glory. I remember thinking, gosh, that is a name for TV, Seacrest. I mean, it really is a great name. I think we've heard it too much now to realize that. But you know who also had a great name? The man I think he may be secretly murdered. Because why else is he getting all these jobs? Why is he keeping so busy? He doesn't need the money. He's trying, he's, I don't know. I don't think he can be alone with his conscience. I think something happened to Brian Dunkelman. And man, if there were ever like a top 10 worst moves in showbiz, it's Dunkelman not hedging his bets on season 2 of Idol being successful. I don't know if season 1 ratings-wise isn't that great, but yeah, either Dunkelman pieced or Seacrest offed him. But yeah, season 1, no notes. America did its job. Also, from Justin to Kelly, not a bad film. If you want something to escape to, might I suggest going to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where Kelly and Justin go on spring break. And even though Kelly is a very jealous friend that tries to keep them apart, eventually they come together and sing a lot of numbers and make sweet music. It's really touching, and it's really high quality. And by high quality, I mean it's awful, but what I want for us is a Rotten Tomatoes type site where we have a different denominator than like assuming a movie wants critical acclaim, because all movies do not want critical acclaim. Look at Hallmark, look at Lifetime, look at anything Mary-Kate and Ashley ever made. It doesn't mean it's not important. Honestly, some of that stuff is the most important to me. We need a Mary-Kate and Ashley style like rubric for movie quality designed for those of us that aren't out for critical acclaim. We don't have a critical eye, the opposite. We're what I like to say, that we make the mainstream our lazy river. We just float and stew in the filth of whatever, is thrown at us in the form of unabashed pandering. Because when you think of like direct-to-VHS films, like or from Justin to Kelly or Mary-Kate and Ashley, it's like, or we weren't worried about plot. We weren't worried about acting chops. We weren't really worried about the quality of the movie, period. What we knew is that it would sell. So you just have to put anything out there. Antiquities in the Bahamas? Sure. Anyways, that's not relevant, but we need our own website to get rid of the snobs on Rotten Tomatoes. Like in these times, I can't watch serious movies. It's not entertaining for me to be accessing serious and dark emotions. I don't want to watch Black Hawk Down. I want Mary-Kate and Ashley Wholesome. That could be the name of our site. Not the best. I'll work on it. We got to workshop it. Okay, I went through that was season 1. Season 2, we have Ruben Sutter and Clay Aiken. Now, I'm no Aikinator, but this was a time when we could have lost faith in America. I don't think we made the right call there. But we went on to learn that there is a curse with the male idol winner, I think, right? So you want to get second place anyways. What we've learned in life and on The Bachelor is that to come in second place actually means to come in first. Season 2 is so interesting to me in hindsight. I've told you before, I think I said on the second podcast episode ever, that my first concert was Ruben Studdard and Clay Aiken. It was my birthday present. I don't think I've ever been so excited for something in my life. Do I wish I thought a little harder about Clay singing about how if he was invisible, then he could just watch you in your room? Sure. But I couldn't see clearly through the tears streaming down my face for his rendition of Bridge Over Troubled Water. That was one for the books. That's a website where we need, the Adam Lambert Mad World scale of singing or talent competition show covers of songs that are so outstanding. At one point, it transcends your interest in listening to the real thing, which is a crazy thing for like a random contestant to do. But not gonna lie, that's happened to me sometimes with a Glee cover. I'm not gonna tell you which ones. It's because I don't want the judgment, because I know a lot of people think Glee versions are bad, but they haven't listened to a mashup that we never saw coming. It's My Life by Bon Jovi and Confessions. In hindsight, Ruben Sutter, incredibly talented, loved the R&B route he was taking. And he was really good on the show, and I was a huge fan of his at the time. But I think we should have known that, a lead single, Sorry, 2004, where he's apologizing to his partner, his ex, for his misgivings for an entire calendar year, wasn't the most promising note to start on, because it kind of seems like if he was sorry in June, sorry for July, sorry. I mean, it's the Rebecca Black's Friday of months. Like, he just lists out months and says he's sorry for all of them. Oh, Lord. But then, yeah, we bounce back. We overcorrect. This is what I mean. This is why we need to stay hopeful. Season 3, we have Fantasia Barrino wins. And thank God, season 4, America did its thing and we voted legend Carrie Underwood as our American Idol. Her and Kelly Clarkson are just so on another level of people that came from shows like this that they're just talents for the ages. And some of the context you provided in your voicemail was about like it being such a cultural juggernaut. Think about the world we would have lived in the late aughts. And even now, with Bo Bice as our winner, if Carrie Underwood for some reason like faded off into the distance, we weren't ready to make Bice. We weren't ready. That he wouldn't have been the right choice. If I didn't, like, as a recovering nice girl who was, always aiming to please, going to school in the South, I didn't have a means to process and express anger. Like, I still to this day am so uncomfortable with the feeling. So when I was slighted by a person that didn't know that they were dating me, yeah, metaphorically digging my keys into the side of his pretty little souped up 4-wheel drive was like maybe one of the biggest examples I can think of like a generation healing through song. And before he cheats, that's not what you asked. So this whole episode's going to just be about American Idol. No, but I think there's a lot of cultural touch points we can get through in this answer. Like when you think about before he cheats, it's the perfect time capsule of a 2005 era. It's so mid-aughts. We were dealing with so much from diet culture to, the pickup artists, why men love bitches, the Tucker Maxes of the world. We were trying to figure out if we were, a Lauren or a Kristen. And we were being so super soaked with misogyny in our culture from every angle. The media, a level of misogyny so internalized that when we were mad at the men in our life, when they were cheating, we turned on our own. That whole song, it's like the chorus is about the things she does to his car, but the verses are just about the girl he cheated with. He's probably slow dancing with some beach blonde tramp, and she's probably getting frisky. She's buying some fruity little drink because she can't shoot whiskey. Also, as somebody who falls in the fruity little drink camp, as somebody who can't and doesn't shoot whiskey, I don't care if you do. I think that's awesome. But it's kind of the stick shift of alcoholic beverages, and that is just like, guys think it's really hot. And I'm just like, why though? Like, do you have eyes? This drink comes in a pineapple. Why is it fundamentally hotter to like, toss a brown liquid down the hatch? It's like, oh, that's hot. She likes to swallow things that taste gross. Okay, is that it? Anyway, is that the sexy part? I don't know. Again, no offense to whiskey. It's just such an amazing, not like other girls, anthem. Also, now, I think I'm turning on Carrie because now that I'm going through these lyrics, she's probably up singing some white trash version of Shania karaoke. Okay, now that this song is my autobiography. I love fruity little drinks. I can't shoot whiskey. I do think the idea of somebody showing me how to shoot a combo with a pool stick is kind of hot. And I almost exclusively sing Shania karaoke. She dug her keys into the side of his truck, but this song virtually being about me never really dug into my brain. The first time she says anything remotely bad about this guy, besides the vandalism, it's just that he's dabbing on $3 worth of that bathroom polo. Wow, that was illuminating. But I still think she should have won. So season 4 was Underwood v. Bice. Season 5 is when shit hit the fan. Season 5, as I mentioned, is when we doubled down for Soul Patrol. And when I realized that I really have an inability to gauge the age of a man with like a friendly face and salt and pepper hair. I literally thought his entire arc was him being middle-aged. Maybe that sounded middle-aged to me when I was 16. I don't know. Again, my friend had to like privately tutor me to get through anything related to math. But season 5, like it's not just Catherine McPhee. I mean, that season had the Dotch, what I call it, Chris Daughtry in my head. That season had Kelly Pickler. That season had Richmond, Virginia's very own Elliot Yamin. And then season 6, everything was flipped, turned upside down when Sanjaya made the top 7. And we wondered, are we here for the right reasons? Because very little talent, top tier sweetness. Simon hated him. And I think the integrity of the show was compromised. Which leads us to season 6, no offense, The Tale of Two Davids. Something that, a season I can only describe as so dull, it made the parade that Richmond, Virginia threw for Elliot Yami look exciting. I do think a lot of Americans start to lose faith in the system. Season 7, the constituency starts to question, like, how is Sanjaya making it this far? Why are we voting between two Davids, each less interesting than the next? And I think that's where I kind of drop off. I don't know what happens in season 8. Season 9, didn't knock off my Bauer socks, if you will. Remember Crystal Bauer socks? That's the name of a star. Wonder where she is now. And I don't really think I tuned back into Philip Phillips' Home because I liked that song, but also I like the name Philip Phillips. It's pretty easy to remember. And I think that's a choice made by a woman who was recently in labor and thought, fuck it. But also, that just happened to be a time where I was really going hard for songs that sounded like that, called Home, because of Edward Sharpe and that Magnetic Zeros Home. Philip Phillips' Home was like a really good song that I still like wouldn't turn off, or like I wouldn't be mad if I heard it in a Cold plus Sephora. Anyway, I don't think we need to go through more Home songs. Did I answer your question? Your question was about the Davids, and I don't even remember anything about them other than like I didn't really like their music and I wasn't that interested. And wasn't Archuleta Mormon, but he's not anymore. And is that the season that they beat out Konstantin Maroulis, who did have a really decorated Broadway career with School of Rock? I think he won a Tony. Anyway, you guys, I don't like that was a really long answer, but and I feel like we covered no ground. So I'm feeling self-conscious, but I have to move on. Thank you for asking. Thank you for calling. I agree about its influence on culture, but I just don't think it has the star power it once did. And I also think that shows like this are kind of ruined now, like with the Twitters of the world, you know, like we're too cynical now for a moment like this. Some people wait a lifetime. I mean, remember when the songs were like, basically, hey, now this is what dreams are made of, reincarnated for everyone. Like what was the Taylor Hicks Soul Patrol one was like, do I make you proud or something? I mean, they were grade A pandering songs that would get a score of 5 stolen antiquities on MaryKateAndAshleyWholesome.com. Like top notch, but you know, songs that don't really stand the test of time, especially if the date is in the song like 2004. Thank you for your question. That was really fun. I love a topic where we can branch off into other pop cultural sparkles. Love you. Bye.
Hey, Kate. I am calling in from Virginia with a dilemma. My husband and I have been married for almost 6 years now, and we are in our first big impasse, like our first real argument. I mean, we've been together for a really long time, so this is not a cry for help. But it's really about the content of the argument. And Kate, it is about the existence or not of witchcraft. We're at a stalemate, and I am dying to know what your thoughts are on like modern witch culture, witchy vibes. The TLDR is that he's like, no, don't say that. Don't say you're looking for a coven of female friends. Like, don't say you're channeling any intention because we don't know if it exists or not, and why bring that into your life if it could exist. And I have the exact opposite opinion. If it could exist, why not bring that into your life for positivity? He grew up Catholic, and I have been arguing that a lot of the things that the Catholic Church does are far more witchy than anything I am intending. But I don't know. I mean, running naked through the woods optional. I would love to find a coven down here and have some female friends, heck, some politicians who are doing some nonsense. Anyway, would just love to know your thoughts. Thanks. Bye.
Ooh, I have thoughts. Thanks for your question. So I have a theory as to why he might think this, but also I feel like first, I'm curious if you guys are kind of talking about two different things. Like, does your husband understand that like witchcraft and witchy vibes kind of runs parallel to like cottagecore and other aesthetics from that kind of got more popularized or mainstream during the pandemic that had to do with like doing cute things in a forest? I mean, because there was cottagecore, but there's also like fairycore and goblincore and all sorts of things that have to do with like forest nymphs vaguely doing pagan rituals. And it's really not any more serious than adopting a cinnamon cookie butter aesthetic for your makeup in a given week. And in an even lighter sense, you know, I think we all got more interested in not in a serious way, but in a wait for the signal and I'll meet you after dark sort of way, like chic green velvet cloaks, wanting to gather in the forest amongst women simply for community. And we brought the orbs for ambient lighting. No offense to the moon, we don't like overhead lighting. Need orbs. That's like, it's just not that serious. So what I'm wondering is, does your husband think you're talking about Satan core when your version of witchcraft is Evermore? You know what I mean? I think there's a distinction. However, I would argue that witchcraft in general is misunderstood and has been misrepresented and rebranded over time. No, I'm not a witch. I couldn't cast a spell if I tried. I don't know anything about anything. But I did see Wicked twice this week. First of all, it's not that serious. But if we want to get serious, second of all, well, if your husband grew up in the 90s, I'm going to argue that
if you went to Catholic Church from 1997 to 2003 or however long the rollout took, there was like a renaissance of anti-witchcraft, anti-occult, anti-magic messaging from the Catholic and evangelical churches to the masses because of what that was massively popular, Harry Potter. I recall witnessing many a spat between parties, whether it's parents and kids, school and kids, school and religious people, grandparents and kids, whatever, about the popularity of Harry Potter and it encouraging like dark magic and black magic and how like kids shouldn't have access to like demonic messaging or something. Like, give me a break. I just wonder if he has memories from that peak like moral panic about magic from the anti-Harry Potter movement, because I'm no Potterhead, hippopotamus, whatever. I can never remember what the fandom's called. It's like one of my biggest pop cultural blind spots. But yeah, that would be my first conjecture. My second one is maybe his Catholic Church talked excessively in general about occult practices, not a cult, but OCCULT, which is really just like spirituality through mysticism, magic, so on and so forth. What's interesting, if you look up the origins of like quote unquote witchcraft, how far back do we go? I mean, do we want a history lesson? We'll call it Beth Stern Civ. I didn't like that. So back when Constantine came around in like whatever, 500 CE, AD, whatever you're using these days, 400, 500, he basically turned Christianity from a persecuted religion into like a powerful and widely accepted one. And the goal was to spread to the masses to basically gain socio-political power. The church was the state and the church was the culture at that point, right? I mean, even if they weren't government officials, they were consulted by members of the clergy. The church was heavily involved in urban centers, trade centers, social services, so on and so forth. I gather once Constantine legalized Christianity, the Christianization of Europe was quite aggressive in terms of not only exhibiting like a cultural dominance where Christianity was the socially acceptable faith, but persecuting and othering any faith of those who didn't convert. And if you're trying to build a business, build an enterprise, benefit that bottom line with those mandatory 10% tithes, what are you going to do? Eliminate the competition. And what was the competition at this point in time? Christianity is a monotheistic religion. A lot of parts of Europe had polytheistic, long-term, ancient, pagan spirituality. And every region, I gather, kind of had their own flavor, their own distinction. And the only reason I've come to understand this, I apologize if I misspeak, is understanding more about Celtic pagan rituals and how they were folded into Celtic Christianity. And I read about this at one point because I find Celtic history fascinating in that it was a society that really revered women. There's a book called Sacred Soul, Sacred Earth. I don't even know if I finished it, but it reminded me before like Celtic regions were, heavily Christianized, the Celts really like held women in high regard. Not only were they equal, they had significant rights and roles that were pretty unusual for the time. They could be priestesses, they could lead ceremonies and rituals, they could own property, they had the right to divorce, they maintained control of the wealth in their marriage. And I'm not like a full woo-woo, divine feminine person, because I don't know, I feel like a lot of coaches who coach coaches are now talking a lot about the divine feminine, and I just don't know what's going on. A lot of them are also talking about aliens. Topic for a different day. But I really liked the premise because I'm Irish and I just liked learning about women before my time. And I just thought it was really interesting that they were these highly regarded members of society with incredibly significant roles and rights. And it wasn't until the Christianization of Celtic regions, specifically Roman patriarchal values, where women were removed from religious leadership, their property rights became restricted, they limited their political power, and the entire emphasis became on female submission. And when people tell me the patriarchy doesn't exist, they think I'm like a woke snowflake. And I'm like, no, I'm reading books about the biblical patriarchy, and early Christianity systematically excluded women from religious authority to maintain control throughout history. Governments have used religious justification to control women in countless ways, whether it's their reproductive system, marriage regulations, property rights, pay discrimination, modesty laws, educational barriers, or voting restrictions. So there could not be more historical examples of controls designed for the subordination of women that use religious language and justification to serve an economic and political power structure. But people try to gaslight you and say, what are you talking about? That's the liberal feminist agenda, making shit up. No, it's not. Read a book. Any other book besides the Bible, but even the Bible too, it says it right there. What was I saying? The Catholic Church isn't exactly known for being like the most modern, hip, and up to date. Like I think a lot of ancient practices and beliefs are like super embedded into the way they do things. I mean, what a Captain Obvious statement. The Catholic Church seems a little change-averse, you think? But even like in comparison, you know, you go to an evangelical mega church and it's like the world's most wholesome rave. Catholic Church never changes. Anyway, my loose, I don't know if it's a theory or subjective understanding of why even modern Catholic churches might speak out against occult practices or witchcraft as if they're still a modern threat, making you ask like, well, is this like real? Should we really be afraid of it? I actually think that witchcraft was never actually like the dark arts. I think it was like folk magic, medicinal healing, pagan spirituality that many regions, many cultures had for thousands of years because they were trying to explain the unexplainable like any religion is trying to do. And when Christianity was conquering these regions and trying to do mass conversions, the only way to like grow and control and maintain power if people won't convert is to other them, is to persecute them, is to do what the Catholic Church did spreading throughout Europe post-Constantine, which is destroy pagan temples and sacred sites, building churches on them, forcing baptisms, military campaigns. There's a lot of varying information out there. I mean, like you have two options when you want to talk people out of something and to join your team in an MLM and in life. So one, you dismiss, two, you demonize. And I think that like what started as a dismissal of pagan rituals and traditions, like slowly became more and more conflated with like demonology. Like anything, it operates on a spectrum, right? And this is what we talk about when we, the Venn diagram of high control groups, cults, churches, MLM, so on and so forth. It's like, it probably didn't start out that serious, but it's a slippery slope. I like to think of the early sales pitch for Christianity being pretty similar to an MLM. Like, imagine you're a pagan witch and you get called into, somebody's office. Hey, pagan witch, do you want to hear about an amazing new opportunity? Do you want to become your own spiritual boss? You got to spend money to make money, baby. 10% of your income, give it to the Catholic Church. The returns will be bestowed upon you in blessings. All you have to do is become a member of the fastest growing religion in the Roman Empire. We've got Constantine in our upline, and this religion all started from one man who had 12 apostles, who got 12 apostles, and their 12 apostles got the names and emails of 12 apostles, and now it's one of the biggest religions in the world. Or do you want to be a peasant on the outside of the empire, or do you want to be the empire? It's kind of like, sheesh, it's an intense sales pitch. I'm just a lady out here trying to enjoy nature, grow herbs for its medicinal properties. And then little did they know, in a few hundred years, they'd be burning all the witches, even if you aren't one. Tragic. By the time the medieval period came around, 1200 to 1500, the Catholic Church formally declared witchcraft heretical. And then a big turning point, I gather, for like the witch hunts was that book that came out in the late 1400s that was kind of a crock, but it got revived in the Renaissance. The text that was used to define the criteria for like the witch hunts that occurred in Europe and in colonial America all like stemmed from this book that was so absurd. Even the church denounced it a few years in, but at one point it outsold the Bible. Let me tell you what it was called, so I'm not speaking out of turn. Yeah, if you want to look this up, it's called the Malleus Maleficarum. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it translates to Hammer of Witches. It was written by a German Catholic clergyman named Heinrich Kramer in 1486. The book was condemned by top theologians of the Inquisition for recommending illegal procedures and for being inconsistent with Roman Catholic doctrines of demonology. The book calls sorcery heresy, which was a crime at the time, and recommends that secular courts prosecute it as such. It suggests torture to get confessions and death as the only certain way to end the evils of witchcraft. When it was published, heretics were often sentenced to be burned at the stake. The Malleus suggested the same for witches. Despite, or perhaps because of, being condemned by some members of the church, the Malleus was very popular. The book was later revived by royal courts during the Renaissance and contributed to the increasingly brutal prosecution of witchcraft during the 16th and 17th centuries. So Kramer, the author, wrote this book following his expulsion from Innsbruck by the local bishop due to charges of illegal behavior against Kramer himself because of Kramer's obsession with the sexual habits of one of the accused, Helena Schuberin, which led the other tribunal members to suspend the trial. And when you look up more about Helena, she was like a married woman that people thought was too independent. She was super outspoken. She wouldn't attend his sermons and like told her friends he was a bad monk. And then he brought about witch witchcraft charges upon her because like after she told all of her friends not to attend his sermons, even though she was acquitted, he wrote this book 2 years later. Like it was like his revenge. And like people think it was basically what we refer to today as like an incel's manifesto, where he was like obsessed with this sexually active, outspoken, independent woman who didn't like him and who denounced his teachings and got her friends to not attend his sermons. And he was still so mad 2 years later. He wrote this book of shit he made up in his head that was used to harass and hunt innocent victims of the witch trials for hundreds of years later. Rage. Hope you enjoyed that edition of Beth Dern Civ, a highly subjective and selective recounting not of history, but of Wikipedia pages I read late at night when I can't sleep. But there's still a lot to be learned. A lot of parallels here. Misogyny is highly contagious. The labeling, stereotyping, demonizing of women's behavior as a tool of oppression is unfortunately nothing new. Anyway, to the caller, I think I'm a lot like you in that I'm a seeker, not a settler. Like I will seek, and I'm deeply curious, and I don't see any harm in understanding what other people believe. I don't really think that faith in something means a mandatory invalidation of everything outside of your faith and that you're the only truth and the only right one and that everyone else must be idiots or compromising their salvation, so on and so forth. Like, I think that mentality largely serves the institution and creates an us versus them mentality that is a tale as old as time, where you're discouraged from even looking outside of what you know. You're discouraged from pushing back on authority. You're discouraged from asking questions. But I think that faith is not the absence of doubt, but faith is overcoming doubt and still believing it anyway, because doubt is very natural. And I think it's in our best interest to always be critically thinking about where we spend our time, our wine, our spirit, our trust, of course. But also, to me, it's just not that big of a deal to be like, to research something, to understand what they believe in. And probably to you too, like your husband's like, he has like an immediate reaction to like, no, we can't. Whereas like, if you don't like take it so seriously, you're not like as intimidated by it. You're just trying to understand something else. And like, why is that such a problem? But that's also a reason why I should probably be careful, because there are probably a lot of people out there thinking that I am a witch. For even trying to historically contextualize witchcraft. I don't practice anything related, except occasionally indulging in what TikTok astrologers say is going to happen on a particular date if it like serves my own agenda. And obviously sleepover rituals like light as a feather, stiff as a board. Although I say that, but I feel like maybe, I don't know, the rumor would spice up my image. Wicked Witch of the Midwest? The Wicked Witch of the Midwest says things like Jeez, Pete's, and is worried about getting arrested for putting Sprite in a water cup, She's not wicked as much as she's like wickedly talented like Adele Dazeem, but I don't know. Maybe I'll lean into the moniker just to add a cool factor. I do wear a lot of black. Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say about witches. Do you know that the origin of the pointy hat and broom is because... So the stereotypical witch hat emerged in the 16 and 1700s, and it was associated with alewives, so women who brewed or sold ale. And alewives wore tall hats to stand out in crowds and had cauldrons because they were brewers, and they used broomsticks as their trade signs. And they also had cats because they would control the mice in the grain. So these symbols became witch stereotypes because people were suspect of female brewers, not only because male brewers wanted to eliminate female competition. And since like witch accusations were a way to women, a lot of male brewers would use witch accusations to drive women out of the trade of being alewives. And women brewers were often like independent and successful, and oftentimes would take on that trade if they were like widows or unmarried. And that would make people even more suspicious. Combined with their knowledge of herbs and fermentation and the fact that they gathered in groups and had economic independence, and that they had these brooms and tall hats to stand out above men and had cauldrons to brew, like that is what created the modern witch stereotype. They weren't evil sorceresses and devil worshippers. They were entrepreneurs, CEOs. They were boss babing too far away from the Son of God and not fulfilling their divine role as wives and mothers and submissive second-class citizens of society. They were small business owners. Can you believe it? We never stood a chance. I believe in a woman's right to choose, and I believe in a woman's right to brew then and now. And this is why on the sacred week that Wicked has come out, the live-action film following a long 20 years since the musical's debut, we're not just holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity in the context of Elphaba. We're holding space for the progress women have had to make
as we progress and regress throughout the years, bobbing and weaving and ebbing and flowing as we try to meander through this complicated systemic web of the patriarchy. To defy gravity isn't so much to literally fly as it is to make us limited, as is inherent to society, as 9.8 meters per second squared is to the earth. Like these things that pull us down, these systems that are embedded that keep us from ascending. So yeah, if you care to find me, look toward the Midwestern sky. Someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to die slowly as they listen to this podcast. Where I got a question about witches 35 minutes ago. How do we get here? Thank you for calling. This episode is brought to you by Helix Sleep. And they might regret saying this, but I just saw on the bottom of the copy that I could sing my ad reader, turn it into a lullaby or poem. And babes don't threaten me with a good time. So 'twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, except for myself. Long hindered by poor slumber, all night I'd stare at the ceiling, wishing St. Nick would soon be here. Not to give me goodies and toys, but something more deep. I wanted St. Nick to give me the best night's sleep. Then up on the roof arose such a clatter. I almost fell asleep, and the noise made me madder. And what to my tired eyes did appear? A jolly St. Nick, saying, Kate, don't you fear. I've brought gifts for your family, your dad, and your mom. But my gift for you, you'll find on helixsleep.com. They have a sleep quiz that will ask if you sleep on your belly, on your back, or your side, or your bowl full of jelly. They ask if you run hot, run cold, or if you're big and tall. If you have a partner who needs a mattress that's firm or it's soft. Away to the window I flew like a flash to get on my laptop and find my match. More rapid than 30 seconds the results came. I wondered and waited which I'd be paired with by name. On sunset, on moonlight, on midnight, on dusk, on twilight, on dawn, on kids or Helix Plus. It was a Helix Dusk Lux for me, a sunset for my guest bed, and a two-sided mattress for my son named Ted. Shipped right to my door, compactly in a box, with a 100-night sleep trial in case the vibes are off. I like this brand so much, I've swapped out all my beds, and my house, my parents' house, and yours too if I can. Now I get a good night's sleep, and don't lie awake scrolling Zillow, especially because they're offering 25% off site-wide and 2 free dream pillows. And what's this on the page my wandering eye sees? With a Luxe or Elite mattress order, you get a bedding bundle for free, which is 2 dream pillows, mattress protector, and a sheet set. I then waved goodbye to St. Nick and said thanks for my bed. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, Merry Christmas to all. Go to helixsleep.com/be there in 5. Thank you. I don't know if that's going to count, but that was really fun. Just so you know, Helix's offer for November is 25% off site-wide plus 2 free dream pillows with any mattress purchase and a free bedding bundle with any Luxe or Elite mattress order, which is 2 dream pillows, sheet set, and mattress protector. Go to helixsleep.com/be there in 5. That's helixsleep.com/be there in 5. Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. I used to gift people my poetry, but as evidenced, it doesn't really pack the same punch it once did. So now I give people things from Uncommon Goods, like my favorite Book Nook reading valet, a pistachio pedestal, thousands of reviews for a reason. You need some place to put your shells at a refined party. I just got in the mail my storybook DIY kit, and I'm so excited because it's like a little nook on your bookshelf, and you build yourself like a little storybook land where like a stack of books might be, and it's so cute. They have something for everybody. They have like books and barware and board games, and like memorabilia for literally any sports team, any college you could have gone to. Like they have stuff that's just customizable to a person's like hobbies and interests, whether that's reading, and I like their stuff like the Couch Caddy, or like I said, the Book Nook that holds and displays a beautiful book and holds your place when you're reading it. They also have banana saving hats, which I didn't know until shopping at Uncommon Goods, that if you put a tiny knit hat on this, collective stem of a bunch of bananas, they keep better. Teddy loves bananas. For the musician in your life, you can get a make your own guitar pick punch where like any credit card or Metro card or whatever can be turned into his own guitar pick and turn them into a virtual Scott Swift. I'm going to get Teddy the construction plate and utensils so he can like eat his food as if it's a front loader or digger, or I don't know what construction vehicles are called. Maybe I'll learn with this gift. A pickleball paddle snack tray. You and I both know that you and I have one too many friends into pickleball at this juncture. I also was looking at this Unlock the Wine escape room game where you can put like a really nice bottle of wine the group wants to drink, but you don't get it until you like solve a series of clues and puzzles, each more intricate than the last. And you guys know I love an escape room. I think this is such a fun idea. Anything customizable, anything specific to a hobby or interest, you can find on Uncommon Goods, hence the uncommon of it all.
And when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. Many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches, so shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out-of-the-ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday host and hostess gifts, from the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone. With every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/BeThereIn5. That's uncommongoods.com/BeThereIn5 for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Hey, Kate, it's Catherine. I live in Boston. I've called a couple times, and you've answered, and it's been great, so thank you for your thoughts and advice. I'm calling because this summer in July, I went to the Eras Tour in Munich with a couple of friends. It was great, and you're the only person I could think of who would care or know who this person is, but as we were sitting, I believe, in the English Gardens one day before the concert, we were just kind of hanging out, my friends and I, having a drink, shooting the shit, sort of lull in between, like, plans that we had in the city. And who walks past me but this woman with blonde hair, a short blonde haircut, and, a sweet smile on her face. And I looked at her and I said, "Oh my gosh, is that Samantha Brown Travel Guide?" And she looked at me. We weren't that far apart. And she didn't stop, and I didn't stop her. But she kept walking. She had 2 kids and a man with her, and she had a tote bag that I believe was it had a Karma reference on it, so she's definitely a Swiftie. And when she walked past, my friends and I looked her up on Instagram and stuff, and that was her family, and that was Samantha Brown Travel Guide. And the whole rest of the trip, we were like, what is Samantha Brown Travel Guide doing? I used to watch her Disney World episodes on my iPod Nano as a kid, and so she means a lot to me, I guess. But it's so funny, the celebrity I saw in Munich was Samantha Brown Travel Guide. And to me, that's her full name. I don't know if it actually is, but I wanted you to know this. So thanks, have a great day, and talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, that is such a good celebrity sighting. A question I often want to ask millennials is like, who did you want to be when you grew up, and why was it Samantha Brown? Samantha Brown is an excellent celebrity sighting. She is, I was going to say a millennial icon, but rather she's an icon to millennials. Growing up, it was her and Bourdain. And they had such different styles. Samantha Brown wandered the earth on television. So we could take Instagrams of plain wings and hashtag wanderlust, in our adult years. Because I assume a lot of us, when we were watching her, we didn't have we weren't of age or income to be able to travel. And literally, she is like how I saw the world. And by the world, I mean Sandusky, Ohio. But to the world, it may just be a coaster. But to some people, a coaster to them is the whole world. And the way this woman could make anything interesting, she could make Sandusky seem like it was Santa Barbara, and I wouldn't know the difference. She would kind of tee up the location. I wish I could watch those shows now. In case you're not familiar, she had great hotel. Honestly, my favorite show of hers was probably Great Hotels, because I love hotels, and I guess Passport to Europe. But you'd fire up the Travel Channel, and she'd be like, "Okay, today we are going to a place like nothing you've ever seen before." You're getting more and more excited. And she's like, "This destination is known for its decadence and rich culinary scene and its thrill-seeking adventures." And you're like, whoa, wait, where in France are we going? This is so exciting, decadent and rich. And she'd be like, "Welcome to Hershey, Pennsylvania." And it was like, oh, shit, I did not see that coming. But you're right. There's a chocolate factory and an amusement park. And that was such a misleading intro that I'm not even mad that the coaster scene is obviously subpar to Cedar Point. Cedar Point was one of the first away trips, first getaways. My husband whisked me away one weekend to Sandusky, Ohio, the first year we were dating. And what happens in close proximity to a Great Wolf Lodge stays in close proximity to a Great Wolf Lodge. But no, we just went there for the day, but it was so fun. And like I had grown up watching roller coaster shows like on the Travel Channel. And I am a very coaster forward person, or I was before I became a mother. Now it doesn't feel worth it. And Cedar Point is like, well, Samantha Brown taught me that it's kind of like the place that pilots, like the most risky, death defying coasters that then other theme parks kind of use as like a template for the rides that they add as their like main attractions. And anyway, this is not about Cedar Point. This is about how Samantha Brown's iconic bob never lost volume or shape, no matter the climate she went to. Samantha, I said a few episodes ago that like D.W. from Arthur was like the original, like iconic fuck ass bob, but Samantha Brown is up there. And I do just want to make a clarification because I feel like it might, I can't quite explain this, but I feel like it could be easy to mix up Samantha Brown and another iconic early 2000s reality show adjacent bob, albeit spikier, which is Paige Davis from Trading Spaces. Both of these women had very short hair, were very spunky, and were on TV around the same time. In 1999 and 2000, the Travel Channel was looking for a host. Brown was chosen after a series of auditions. She travels 230 days. I don't know if this is at the time or now, or because she has a travel show on PBS now, I think. As a travel host, Brown travels 230 days out of the year, and it takes 8 days to film 1 hour-long episode. So she is on the be there in 5 cadence of how long it takes to create a singular episode. I relate to that. And also, that's a lot of days to be gone from home. You have to really love it, especially if you said she has a couple of kids. That's 230 days out of the year is a lot. But okay, since joining the network of the Travel Channel, she hosted several series, including Girl Meets Hawaii, Great Vacation Homes, Great Hotels, Passport to Europe, Passport to Great Weekends, and Passport to Latin America. In addition to her regular show, she hosted several Travel Channel specials, 2006 All Access special, Great Cruises, Freedom of the Seas with Samantha Brown. The 2006 version of like a basic sorority college gals, Tahiti, was a cruise docked in the Panhandle that allowed you to go to like a Discovery Cove, Oh man, I've never still been on a cruise, and I kind of wanted to take Kelly on one because she would probably like it just for like the sun and beaches, and I want to observe people. And I was like, we could expense it and make it content, because remember when that influencer just started like living on cruises? But then I was like, no. Every time I even entertain that for a second, I take the poop cruise. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Prior to that, she hosted a 12-night Mediterranean Venice cruise aboard the Brilliance of the Seas cruise ship. She hosted a special titled Passport to Green Getaways, a travelogue to 3 eco-friendly destinations in North America. In 2007, she had 2 shows in production. She had a 10-year anniversary special in 2010. Then it kind of drops off. And she like funded and did her own show on PBS in 2018. To see what she's up to lately, I actually, believe it or not, did DM her like within the past calendar year. I did an Instagram story about her, like very in passing, about her like being my idol, and that like, travel show host was such a dream job. And it's just this is why I love Instagram. It's the ultimate focus group. Like the way people responded to that, I was like, oh my God, people love Samantha Brown. I think she's just a person we all know and watched and like we're obsessed with. But she also like was so disproportionately down to earth relative to like the hyper glam era. And I don't say that in like a demeaning sense, but the 2000s were a time where hotness reigned for females in media. But like in hindsight, I kind of like love that she wasn't like, that show was about the travel. She just had a off-trend, no fuss hairstyle and a sensible shoe, and she just took on the world. And I don't know, how empowering for a young gal who otherwise was watching programming that was too dirty to clean its act up. What a great neutral, interest-based role model to have in such a precarious time like the 2000s. Anyways, I was thinking through that unassuming night, as one does, just to about Samantha Brown, and I DM'd her to try to get her to come on the podcast, because I realized like, wow, I wonder if she understands like her icon status and like the memories of millennials, because I gather that the travel hosting gig was a bit fraught, especially how competitive. I mean, like Bourdain's show, I can't even talk about Anthony Bourdain without wanting to cry, which I also was and am a huge fan of. Greg and I watch No Reservations as like a background comfort show. Highly recommend. his show was, it was just totally different, but it was so popular. And it was just kind of them two on the Travel Channel, which is interesting to think about now. So did you have a specific question, or were you just telling me about Samantha Brown? Because now I'm too excited that I don't even remember what you asked. I'm not sure if there was like a prompt, but I'm going to take this as an opportunity to just like talk about Samantha Brown for like 10 minutes because I actually don't think we've ever talked about her on this podcast about millennial women. And like she was our dream job. I can't say for everyone, but I do feel like there's a trend. Talked about this in my book in the chapter Be There in 5. Like for us vague marketing girlies or like people in kind of business jobs that you had never heard of when you were younger, like if you didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or teacher is obvious and established like profession wise. The people like me kind of like we would go through phases of wanting jobs that looked fun that we saw on TV or like in movies that like women would have. So like a lot of us went through a magazine journalism phase. A lot of us went through like a fashion PR phase or whatever. I often forget about the broadcast journalism phase. This one was so real. And whether it was wanting to be like an e-news anchor or like a newscaster or like hosting a travel show was maybe like the apex of this career dream. And I mean, I actually did want to be a newscaster for a while, which is kind of interesting given my job now. But I remember leaning up a mattress like, horizontally against a couch. So it was like standing upright and then sitting on the top of the couch. So like the mattress was up to my, chest area and perching on the mattress as if it was a news desk. And I was like anchoring the news. Isn't that an interesting thing to play as a child? When I think about pretending as a child, like I don't remember pretending as much with like baby dolls. A lot of little girls are given, toys or will play careers that are in like, slightly more nurturing roles or like pretend to have babies or whatever the hell it is. But I have distinct memories of like all of the things I pretended were like business jobs. I'd like sit at my dad's desk and pretend to be a businesswoman. And I just think that's funny. That was like, I've always wanted to wear tailored clothes and have somebody pay me, I think is really what it came down to. I also remember before I would get behind the news desk, I would like break into my mom's bathroom and like put on a ton of foundation with, like a classic wedge sponge applicator. And for some reason that was the costume, was just matte foundation sitting behind a mattress. I don't know why. And it was not important. But like, I've always loved makeup and stuff. And honestly, this is why this was the whole premise of the chapter Limited too, is kind of like, am I a product of my conditioning or are these things I actually like? And also like, does it matter? Honestly, this is why, and I mean, I don't have kids this age, so I'm not trying to dismiss your concerns. But when I hear of girls being obsessed with Sephora and like, or wanting skincare, I don't know, liking products and makeup and stuff, and they're so young and it's almost like painted as, of course being too mature, which it is, and there's obviously a balance, but it almost feel like it's talked about as if it's like oppressive, and it can be, of course, like beauty standards you're trying to meet. But I do think that like a lot of the interest in that stuff comes quite organically to very young girls. In my breaking into my mom's bathroom and putting on foundation with a wedge sponge has like nothing to do with the male gaze or feeling remotely oppressed by the world around me that I needed to blur my pores. I didn't have pores. I don't think I was old enough to even pour out of a Juicy Juice can myself. Remember when I had to open with a can opener? Those were really messy. And it was fun for me. And I've always liked makeup, and I don't really think it came from a bad place or it's like a bad influence. You know what I mean? Anyways, my point is, yikes. I went through an epic Samantha Brown travel phase. I mean, maybe I'm still in one. I haven't lost hope I pitched a travel show in the pod a while ago called Killing Time in Between Meals with Kate, because when I travel, I realize I don't have that much to do, or like there's not that much I'm dying to see, because sometimes I get stressed about like how much can you really see in a concentrated time to like get the full vibe, and to walk everywhere and fit everything in overwhelms me to a place where I'm not having fun. If I want to get like a vibe and a feel, where I'm going to do that is eating meals and people watching. So I just kind of go places and literally kill time between meals. And it also took me way too long in life to just admit something to myself that I'm not proud to say, but I think it's important to be honest with ourselves. If you're anything like me, I don't like museums. Even as a kid, I was like, I'm on vacation. Like, aren't we supposed to be like relaxing, decompressing? I'm not here to learn. If you are a person that really genuinely finds museums fun, I'm interested. They can be interesting, and they're with a few exceptions. I like Chicago's killer museums. There's some places that are like outstanding, obviously. I'm not trying to be negative about supporting the history and art and culture of a city. My parents really like history, and I remember thinking as a kid, adults like history, adults like learning, adults like museums and guided walking tours and, fife and drum corps and stuff. Do you ever feel it's kind of like how I thought that adults by nature were morning people, and I every day wake up waiting to become one, and it might not be in my nature. Loop back to Bourdain, because I feel like we could make this a productive segment, not just me talk about whatever the hell I'm talking about. What's interesting is the two travel hosts that are so different that I really loved. Samatha was more bubbly and itinerary based, and Bourdain was, he had like his more signature, edgy, cynical style that was about getting to know the locals and finding like off the beaten path fare. And it would have, the episodes of No Reservations kind of had this arc of like kind of, grumpily musing over details that were like beautifully articulated. And you could tell like he like scripted and wrote himself. And, by the end, he'd almost have like a heartwarming, like full circle of like having a better understanding of the people and their pride in the place they live. And No Reservations, there will never be anything like it. It is one of the best like cable television programs I think to ever exist. We lost a good one too soon. I don't know much about his personal life, but I really liked the way he approached his show. I don't feel like we ever talk about Anthony Bourdain, but I'm a huge fan of his. Anyway, but we're talking about Sammy B here. But interestingly enough, I don't think they had a rivalry, but I think that they were like the two personalities on at the time, and they were so different that they were often like pit against each other. Okay, yeah, this is an interesting article from back in the day. Brown is petite and blonde, bubbly and overeager to the point of being patronizing. Okay, this is when we were rude to women in media. You would not say that in an article now. Just like, no, she's not. Get a life. She could easily be in your Bible study or leading your niece's Girl Scout troop. That is true based on the haircut alone. Bourdain and Brown both export particular American attitudes. Bourdain traffics in the self-deprecating cynicism of Hemingway reading Americans who know what postmodern means. And Brown works in what should be called trinketism, a lens that views foreign things as first and foremost neat in order to get over a sheltered xenophobia. Whoa. That is like the most 2008 sentence ever. We were like just getting into hipster, tiny mustache merch, America. Like I feel like snobbery about how people travel and like doing local stuff and you know what I mean? I mean, it's still alive and well, but since I studied abroad in 2008, I remember being very self-conscious of like wanting to appear like I wanted to come home and people be like, wow, you're different. You've changed. You work to live, not live to work. You drink doppio espressos without cream. Like that's hot. I just wanted to be more refined and sophisticated. But like, honestly, we went to museum gift shops to like see what was in the museum based on the merch. And then if we didn't like the vibe, we'd just leave. We weren't the educated travelers, but we had fun and we had a ton of experiences. I just think traveling, yeah, like maybe steer, veer away from the Planet Hollywood and Hard Rocks every once in a while, unless you have a t-shirt collection, in which case, sick. There's a way to, overdo the mainstream nonsense and completely not appreciate a place. But I think that being snobby about how people approach travel is like such a waste of time. And honestly, the only person I don't want to travel with is whoever wrote this article. Like, fuck you if you don't like a cozy cafe. And I don't usually speak that strongly, but I feel very strongly about coziness and a woman's right to feel cozy. And Samantha Brown, if I recall correctly, she was educational. She gave great historical context. She did interact with the locals. She tried to go off the beaten path. Sometimes that path was Disney World. Sometimes that was Cedar Point. Sometimes it was just a show about water parks. But there's a place for that too. Not everybody can be doing ayahuasca in Peru. Some people need to have fun with the whole family. Whatever. This isn't like mainstream media. This is a 2008 article written by a woman on a Matador network. And I was looking up if they interacted or if like they had an actual rivalry because I wasn't because I wasn't clear from that Wikipedia entry I just read. I found this random article. It's a little harsh. The difference between the two is easy to see when both shows demand of them a similar experience, doing drugs. Bourdain was sent to a forest in Peru where he drank a tree bark tea said to be sacred for the hallucinations it causes. Brown was given the task of visiting a marijuana vending cafe in Amsterdam. Bourdain eagerly drank the tea and then passed out on the ground of a wooden hut after a few moments of poking fun at the network's restrictions on showing too much about his trip. Brown talked chipperly to the barista about how cozy the cafe was, ordered a mango tea, and then later went out to dinner with friends, trying very hard to prove that she had overcome her old notion that Amsterdam was a city full of sex and drugs. Listen, Rebecca, they're hosts of a show that's heavily produced and edited by not only like the top downs of the network in terms of how they need to steer the show to appeal to a particular demo, but also different shows have different angles on travel or the thing that they're doing. And one person's style doesn't negate the validity of another person's. There's a space for the cynical, edgy traveler in a wooden hut in Peru. I like to watch that because I would never do it. Not because I'm not adventurous, but the wooden hut of it all. I don't like to travel unless my accommodations are nicer than my home. Otherwise, I don't feel like I'm vacating. But not everybody feels that way. Some people want like an experience or like prefer grit. That's just not me. It always amazes me, especially when people in media that should know better overemphasize or hold like personality to the face of something, overly accountable for stuff that they should very well know they're not the decision makers for. Like, hosts of a TV program is not only like produced and scripted, also there's directives from like top down from the network because all they care about is ratings, and they need to have a like diverse mix of programming to appeal to different demographics they're trying to get. And the people watching Great Hotels, Hershey, Pennsylvania, may not be the same people watching Bourdain trip balls in Peru. You need to have different types of content. And how the show is ultimately produced, edited, and scripted is partially a function of the host because Bourdain, at least as a viewer, it would seem like Bourdain had a little bit more creative control than Samantha did. But even Anthony saying in the wooden hut that he wasn't allowed to show that much of his trip. I just feel like that's a harsh oversimplification that ignores how much power and control she had over the situation and ignores the reality of television, which is that you're pandering to an audience. And on the topic of drugs, that's not going to go over the same with different viewer bases. And I think Samantha ate a space cake. Little Samantha Brownie, There's no way. Meanwhile, I was probably at home, like, in my volleyball shorts being like, Amsterdam has mango tea? I've got to go. I went through a major Nestea phase where I was, like, slamming lemon Brisks. Do you remember Brisk? Is that still around? Brisk iced tea in a can is delicious. It is more sugar in it than the town of Hershey, Pennsylvania, but that's why it's delicious. Let me see if Samantha's ever talked about Anthony. God, I always take so long to answer these questions, you guys. I'm sorry. It wasn't even a question. I could have just been like, that's awesome, girl. Thanks for sharing. Love Samantha. Moving on. Nope. Now I must know everything about her. She lives in Park Slope. Anyone who lives in Park Slope, how she felt being pitted against Bourdain on the same network at the same time when his show was like, I'm pretty sure it was like, I think Samantha was like well loved, and obviously she had a really strong 10-year career on the Travel Channel, which now is mostly just ghost hunting. But I'm pretty sure like ratings wise, his was like the network hit. This is an article from 2018 when she was doing a show called Samantha Brown's Places to Love on PBS about 13 destinations. She went far beyond the typical duties of a TV host. She's the writer, editor, and even the fundraiser. Yeah, she wasn't doing that before. Since Great Vacation Homes premiered in 1999, Brown says being a woman in the travel entertainment industry has only gotten harder. Statistics show women travel more than men, yet there are few female faces on travel TV. As Brown puts it, it just doesn't add up. As we talk, I struggle to think of one female host other than some people I haven't heard of. Hardly have the same name recognition as Anthony Bourdain, Andrew Zimmerman, Rick Steves, even though they also travel around the world and share with the rest of us. Sorry, I'm a great host. Television's very tough, and I think the television world just feels like travel is a man's space, that travel and adventure is for men. Brown said, adding that at least today there's more potential opportunities for women online where the audience decides who to watch. So they put men at the helm of those shows. TV executives don't see a woman as that, and that's surprising to me. About 10 years ago, Brown says, I was even told, listen, we don't want women anymore. Yikes. Because at night, if there's a couple, a man and a woman couple, the husband has control of the controller. That isn't that, like, I'm triggered. Get a life. But, like, anyways, the point being that tracks for, like, well, the man's, like, that's how, like, media executives talk. Well, the man's going to have the remote controller, and the woman makes all the purchasing decisions. So the man's going to watch the show, but the woman's going to watch the ads because women be shopping. Anyways, where was I? She was told by some executive, listen, we don't want women anymore at night if there's a couple, a man and a woman couple. The husband has control of the controller, and he doesn't want to watch a woman travel. That was their thing. That's what was passed down to me. That's so fucked up. And after all that work, I mean, crazy. In spite of this, Brown managed to maintain her optimistic on-screen persona. Off-screen, she's just as warm. Our photographer had to request she try photos without smiling. But in talks with other networks, Brown said she was repeatedly asked one question. Would she go negative? Anthony Bourdain was everything. This is her talking. Everyone wanted the next Bourdain, and they wanted me to be the next kind of off-the-cuff, too-cool-for-school host. She said, I love Anthony Bourdain, but we're very different. And the reason why Bourdain is amazing is because he is who he is. He's very authentic. And everyone asked me, can you be more like him? And I just said, I can't, so I'm not going to do this show. Ironically, Bourdain himself at a party many years ago gave Brown advice that helped her come back stronger after parting ways with the channel that launched her career. I was kind of commenting on the fact that he got to do all these great things, and I'm like, they'd never let me do that. They always make me do this. And he said, you don't ever have to do anything you don't want to do. And I was like, well, that's you. And now that's me, and he's right. You don't ever have to do anything you don't want to do. That's always stayed with me because he had such confidence, and it took me another 10 years to get there. Like, yes and no, though, because you were told you could do anything you want to do, but you were told that the man is the controller and he doesn't want to watch it. We don't need women anymore. Like, it is not the same. You know, like, I love Bourdain and I love that she was inspired by that advice. But, like, I do think that men have a lot of blindness to how female confidence is off-putting to men in a way that you doing what you want to do or saying you're not going to do what you don't want to do is not often taken as input as much as it could be like career-ending feedback that makes you look difficult, and therefore you don't actually get what you want by fighting for what you don't want. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that, but the way she's describing this industry, it's like, sure, maybe she could have been more confident in the type of things she wanted to do and pushed back, but ultimately saying, like, we don't want a woman. Like, so what are you supposed to do with that? You know? Like, they wouldn't have said that to him. So it's just, I don't know. The amount you push back and being confident and, like, fighting for what you want, like, it's not just about being a better negotiator or appearing more confident. Like, there are such real deep-seated biases that exist that you pushing back, like, can compromise your livelihood. And it's just, yeah, it's frustrating to even read about. She's talking about her show, Places to Love. It was in 2018. Anyways, I didn't see it, but it sounds like she's doing well. Anyway, do I have anything else to say about Samantha Brown? I mean, anyway, yeah. But Samantha Brown is not a crayon. Samantha Brown is a legend. And I loved Great Hotels. And I never put this together until now, but you know how I always talk about one of my life's greatest joys is hotels, like fancy hotels, historic hotels, pop culturally adjacent hotels. Like, I love amenities. I love service. Like, I don't, you know, I like to splurge on, like, comfort, convenience, and, like, finer things, accommodations. Those are, like, my areas more than, like, handbags and clothes and stuff, and Eras tour tickets, apparently. But people get value out of different things. And I just think there's something really special about, like, needing time away and, you know, people taking the time every day of their job and hospitality to, like, make people feel like $1 million for the short time that they're there, because it's so important, because normal people probably do spend what feels like $1 million that they don't have on those stays and need the hospitality the most. And the people that, like, belong there, you know, probably don't even care. But, like, I just really value and love hotels that, like, go out of their way and provide an incredible experience for the normals. And I don't know, it's just, like, fun to feel like you're someone else for a half day and a night, you know? Or if it's me, it's always a full day, because checking out early is for suckers. 4 p.m. or best. Maybe that's my museum in a sense. I don't know why. It's not, like, just about finer things. It's, like, kind of deeper. Actually, I should ask them if this is why they picked them. But my parents rule, because I got to go to, in high school, when I was watching a lot of that show, some of the hotels she featured, and it blew my effing mind. They took me to season 1, episode 1 of Great Hotels, Samantha Brown Travel Guide, to quote my caller. uh, to the Portofino Bay Resort in Orlando, Florida. And my God, if I thought it wasn't, I mean, it was interchangeable with the Italian Riviera. Like to me, there was no difference. And in my memory, there still is no difference because it was that magical. And when we were staying there, George W. Bush was staying there. And the entire place was like covered with Secret Service men, like on roofs everywhere. And my brother and I noticed that at the top of the water slide was a guy with like an earpiece. And is that not the most Mary Kate and Ashley shit you've ever heard? I mean, I can't believe I didn't get plucked from obscurity in a hibiscus flower bikini to take on some governmental hijinks and me in witness protection. Those movies were really misleading. But yeah, we just thought that was like the coolest thing. And that was like a really neat hotel. And I like loved Universal Studios. Universal Studios is a great place for like teenagers. I don't think I would have loved Disney World as much when I was 16. Like I remember feeling like about Disney World at that age, but like Universal Studios I thought was sick. I had so much fun there. Portofino Bay is like a Universal Studios adjacent property, kind of in the same way like the Grand Floridian or whatever would be to Disney, and you can like take ferries to the park and stuff. And I feel like I never hear about that hotel. I wonder how it's doing. Anyway, you guys, long story short, Samantha Brown has a meaningful imprint on my life in ways that I don't even think I connected until now. And I'm so grateful for your call. And what a cool celebrity sighting. And I absolutely love that she's a Swiftie. And I bet Rebecca, who wrote that article in 2008, would hate that. And I love that because I hate Rebecca. Thanks for calling. All right, you guys. I think that's it for Katelilah. It took me too long to answer these questions. Sorry. But thanks to those of you who call in. If you have called in, don't think that I won't use it at a later date because we kind of pick at random from stuff we haven't used yet. And yeah, if you want to hear the story of how I had to sell my tickets 2 hours before the Eras tour that were my dream seats because I couldn't get myself to Toronto last Thursday, and a story that will haunt my life forever, go to patreon.com/BeThereIn5. So no, I did not go to the Eras tour last week as I told you I was going to, even though I tried. It was tough stuff. That's okay. Not here to complain. I'm just glad to have kept you company today, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. And in the spirit of giving thanks, I'm so grateful for those of you that come back every week, regardless of the heaviness or levity of the topic. Thank you for letting me explore my multitudes. Thank you for sticking with me, even though I would imagine hearing somebody talk after 7 years gets a bit boring. I pray that you don't get that itch anytime soon. I think that's what that movie is about, but, I don't watch anything that came out before 1980, so I'm not entirely sure what the 7-year itch is about. But we're going to list. You guys are the best. If I could rate and review 5 stars, all of you, I would, because you are what makes this job happen and keep going. And I hope every year that I can continue to do it for just one more year. And I just almost fell off my chair. Here's hoping for 2025 if I don't seriously injure myself. All right, you guys, I'll see you next week. As always, let me know your thoughts and I'll let you know mine. I'll be there in 5. I swear.